it, guys. Welcome. Appreciate you getting up this morning and being with us. Like Coach said, I'm the head football coach at Dodge City Community College. Just completed our first year as a staff. I spent the last 5 years at a Division I FCS school as a defensive line coach, Southeast Missouri State. A lot of the film you're going to see today is from when I was there. And so basically today we're going to talk about just a little bit of philosophy, and then we're going to get right into just some of my favorite defensive line drill progressions from a run and pass standpoint. The first thing I want to do is start off with how we teach. Okay, and I think this is really important, and I've carried this with me for a long time, and obviously I didn't make it up, but it's been good for us. And we talk about reading it, watching it, and repping it. And so the read it part, everybody has some sort of a handout, paperwork. Some guys do playbooks, some guys don't. But you need to be giving out some type of paperwork so they can read it and take notes. Have the ability to watch it, your install teach tapes, your technique videos. This time right now we're at in America, we all got time. And so even if you're a high school guy, now's a great time where you have time to sit down and really make a good install teach tape and drill video if you have some of that, so they can watch it and see what they're supposed to do. And then obviously you got to go out and you got to rep it, and that's your individual drills, your whatever, in your practice. So read it, watch it, rep it, and we feel like if you do all three of those things, your players can learn anything you teach them. We're talking about defensive line play. I think before you get to scheme, before you get to any type of drills, you have to establish a mentality, okay? And that mentality for us is refuse to be blocked. All right, one man can't block us and two men can't move us. All right, if you don't get the mentality instilled in your guys, all the drills in the world and the best scheme don't matter. Okay, they have to think a certain way. Those guys got to be a little bit different. All right, and in our first position meeting at fall camp, we'll all say this quote at the bottom together. All right, as a unit, every time I put my hand on the ground, it has to mean something. And what that means is every rep is important, whether it's an individual drill, inside drill, a team drill, it doesn't matter, okay? Everything matters. All right, just some goals that we have on a yearly basis, and I've carried these for a long time. All right, number one, we talk about doing our job. There's 11 guys on defense. Each one guy has a job. Do your 111th. All right. Number two, dominate the line of scrimmage. All right. Don't let people run the football. Obviously, if you stop the run, you got a great chance to be successful on defense, make them one-dimensional. Number three, we talk about affecting the quarterback. Okay. And when I talk about affecting the quarterback, I'm not necessarily talking about just sacks. Okay. I'm talking about hurrying them, hitting them, getting our hands up and disrupting his vision. If he's a scrambler, keep him in the pocket. If he's a pocket guy, make him scramble. Whatever we need to do to affect his decision-making, and that can be different on a week-to-week basis, all right? Number four, obviously, you got to play with maximum effort and play with a motor. I tell them if they don't play hard all the time, they're going to be standing next to me drinking water, okay? Number five, refuse to be blocked, create that mentality. And then number six, at the end of the day, we always got to compete in everything we do. And at the end of the day, all right, it all starts up front. Okay, I want to talk about the power of a knockback. Okay, so we're trying to reset the line of scrimmage. And you'll see here, so we're going to look at the top of the screen here, looking right up here. You watch this guy, he gets off and he gets knocked back on this tackle. They're trying to run this gap scheme, and it makes the ball flatten out. Doesn't let this ball get downhill. Well, it's a great job on the knockback, taking the puller off course. He takes the back off course. It's just a fantastic job at knocking them back. Okay, you see another one here. This is a 3rd and 2 rep, okay? So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to take 3rd and 2 pre-snap, all right, and we're trying to make it 3rd and 3 to 4 post-snap. We have to reestablish this line of scrimmage, okay? And you can see these guys, we get knocked back. and we get a TFL on a 3rd and short, that's a big time play in a critical situation. So knockbacks are really, really important to what we're trying to do. All right, we're going to talk about stance briefly, okay? And my thoughts on stance have changed through the years. When I was a young D-line coach, I used to think that everybody had to be in the same stance and they all had to be essentially a cookie cutter stance. All right, what I've learned through the years is everybody's built differently. Okay, there's longer guys, there's wider guys, everybody's a little bit different. And so as long as their stance is comfortable, powerful, and functional, I really don't care what it necessarily looks like. Okay, there are a couple parameters that we do give them. All right, our man hand is always down. Okay, so if I'm keying the guard, my hand closest to the guard's down. If I'm keying the tackle, my hand's closest to the tackle's down, so on and so forth. All right, our down hand, our man hand is always in front of our face. Okay, and that's for 2 reasons. All right, number 1, that ensures that we're going to fire out and not stand up. All right, and number 2, as long as you line up with your hand in front of your face and behind the ball, you'll never line up off sides. Okay, and I know that sounds like a small thing, but 2 years ago, the Kansas City Chiefs, they lost an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl because they had a guy that couldn't line up off sides or couldn't line up on sides. And so the details matter. And so you never want those kind of stupid penalties, okay? Our feet are going to begin slider than shoulder width apart. And we do that because what I learned is on the snap, however wide your feet are, they always seem to narrow on the snap. So if you start with narrow feet, all right, on the snap, they're going to be even more narrow. And while we always want to create a great base, okay? So we're going to over-exaggerate to get what we want, okay? We use a toe-to-instep stagger. If we get into a passing situation, you can elongate that stance, get toe to heel, get that butt up in the air so they can get vertical. Obviously, our weight's distributed on our gap foot so we can step with our man foot, and then our offhand is cocked and ready to fire so we can get a good punch. Okay, talking about pre-snap eye control, okay? This is where I'm probably different than, I would say, probably 90% of defensive line coaches in America. As a player and as a young coach, we would key the hip, the shoulder, the screws, all kinds of different things. And so about 12 years ago, we started doing this near knee stuff. Okay, so our pre-snap eye control is going to be on the near knee of the offensive lineman that we're lined up on. Okay, because if you think about offensive line play, what do those guys work on all the time? Well, they work on footwork. They work on their zone steps, and they work on their down steps, and they work on their pulls and their pass sets, and they work on all this footwork technique. And so we're going to take that, and we're going to use it against them. So my eyes are on the near knee, and if that knee comes straight to me, okay, it's a base drive block. I got a car crash it, put him back where he came from. All right, if that knee breaks away inside or outside, depending on my alignment, then it's an inside or outside release. If you're squeezing blocks, you can play through the man. If you're a penetrator, you can get vertical, whatever you're doing fundamentally. But what it allows you to do is diagnose the block right away. All right, if that knee crosses your face, it's a reach block. If that knee goes straight back in a kick step, it's a pass set. And so those are the basic things that they can do. So as soon as that knee moves, I know exactly what the block is, okay, and I can execute my plan, whatever that is in your defense. Okay, we talk about 3 different types of basic alignment. All right, when you're talking about a shade player. We always use our nose to measure our alignment because it's a fixed point that we can always use. So a normal alignment is nose to the outside or inside shoulder tip of the offensive line. Okay. A gap alignment is the nose right in the middle of the gap. And this is my favorite alignment and probably what we use the most because right now he could put his left hand down and key this knee, or he could put his right hand down and key this knee, and he doesn't have to move. Okay, we don't have to get tighter to one guy or the other. All right, so this is so I could be a right-handed stance 4-eye here with a 3-technique alignment to get whatever blocking scheme I want to get. If I want to force a block back or learn how to manipulate a blocking scheme, I can do that. Okay, so this is our gap alignment and probably what we use most. And then if you're doing some type of movement, or you're aligning off of a back or something, we have a heavy alignment. Now we're going to put our nose right to the V of the neck of the offensive lineman. Okay, and so that can allow us, if we're crossing the face, to align for success here. Okay, and then sometimes we line up heavy just so we can play thick through this guard. Okay, but we do use the heavy alignment some. And then obviously number 4 could be a head-up alignment, which we use in our 3-4 for our nose tackle. But those are the 3 basic types of alignments that we use for our shade techniques. Okay, the first drill we're going to talk about, I'm kind of a ground-up guy. Okay, so we're going to start on the ground with our feet, and we're going to work our way up. Okay, and when you're talking about drill philosophy, I really believe in small to big. Okay, so we're going to start with the smaller pieces, and we're going to work our way to the bigger pieces. And so what you're going to see today is you're going to kind of see, I kind of have them in order as to how we would do them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is called a line drill. Okay, and what the line drill allows us to do is we're going to use this line to help me see and measure our first step. Okay, so we want to have a short first step. Our goal is to get 2 feet in the ground before the offensive lineman gets 2 feet in the ground. We feel if we do that, then we'll have leverage and power. Okay, so it's a race to get 2 feet in the ground. All right, I used to say 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches. At the end of the day, guys, I don't have a ruler on the field, okay? And so what we tell them is make it a short step. And what this line allows you to do, so they're going to put their man toe behind the line. All right, they're going to put their gap foot on the line, and then that first step should just step right over the line. All right, and what this allows me to do is now I can see both guys. Okay, one guy's in a right-handed stance, one guy's in a left-handed stance. They've got their man hand down, and they're just stepping over the line. All right, and this is a drill you can do every day of the week, 12 months a year. You can do it in a gym. You could do it on a field. Okay, but it's just a really good way to kind of give them a visual of that first step. I also like the guys that are behind them in line to watch their feet so they can give them feedback. Hey, you were too long there, or whatever it is. All right, you can put a mini cage under it if you want to. All right, but this is a fantastic drill to really work that first 2 steps. And we'll do this, we'll usually start with this on a daily basis. All right, from here we get into just some base get-offs. Everybody in America does these. We're going to get off on movement. You could do a pass rush. You can do movement footwork. You can really do whatever you want when you get to these starts. Here we're just working some vertical starts.
Question here for you, Coach.
Yes, go ahead.
When you first teach this, say at the high school level, would you suggest the coach standing to the side so that he could see the feet?
No, I stand right now. I can see their feet. My eyes right now are right down here. Okay, and I can see their feet. I can see how big their first step is. I can see both of them at the same time. All right, obviously as a defensive lineman, we have to have peripheral vision. So as a coach, you need to have peripheral vision. So I can see right now, I can see both guys' first step. I can see everything from this position here. Hopefully that answers the question. If you're lucky enough to have a guy to snap the ball, I'm kind of a one-man show. And so, I had to do everything. So if you have a guy that can be the snap guy, cadence guy, you can stand side, back, wherever you want to. Okay, then we'll get into some redirection. All right. And redirection is a really important part of defensive line play. Okay. And it shows up on game film all the time. All right. And so we'll get in two lines. We'll stay on our two lines. Okay. I'll back up about 4 yards. Okay. And on my movement, they're trying to get vertical as fast as they can. And then I redirect them. Okay. We can go left or right down the line. We can do a screen. We can do a draw. We can do anything we want to do. Okay. And so when we're redirecting, we're talking about straight lines. Okay. What we want to do is we want to avoid fish hooks. I never want to round off a redirection. All right. I want to make sure that we have straight lines so we don't waste movement. Okay. And so we're looking for them to plant their foot, sink their hips, point their toe, drive and finish, keeping our feet in the frame of our body. Boom. So here we go. We got a lateral one. Bam, straight edges. You can go on a hard count to make them go on movement. Bam, straight edges. That's a pretty good job. Vertical, straight edges. What you want to avoid is the guy here on our left, he kind of short steps it a little bit. He kind of short steps and anticipates. What I want him to do is try to get to me. I try to come slap me. Try to get to me as fast as you can, and I'm going to redirect them to try to make it game-like. So you can go down the line either way. This is a draw. So I put my hands straight down. All right, now they're going to retrace back inside and run through the line of scrimmage. Okay, this is a screen. All right, we only got one guy going here, but I'll point my hands outside to a 45-degree angle. They're going to turn and run 45-degree angle to the direction they're lined up on. This is great for your bubbles, your tunnels, your screen retrace game. This is a really good drill. And again, this is something that we do every day. I'm a man. The guy to the right is wrong. This should be a screen, so he should do what he does. You can start this off as slow as you want. You can tell them the first day I usually tell them, hey, we're going to go down the line this way. We're going to do a draw. We're going to do a screen. Because at the beginning, you need to try to teach them, not try to trick them. Okay, then we get into what we call a stability drill. And this drill is really good it's really good if you have a zero nose. They get that bump blocked by the guard a lot on their hip. It's really good for inside D linemen, D tackles on down blocks and different things. And really what we're trying to teach them to do is how to feel pressure, and when they feel that pressure, how to fight pressure with pressure, and how to keep a good, strong base. And so I think some of this film is from when we first started doing this drill. And so you're going to see some bad first, and then you're going to see some good. And I think that's important so you understand what we want. Okay, but they're going to start. We usually work in a 5-yard area. Okay, they're going to start. They're going to get in an athletic position. And what we're working on, they're going to try to step. Okay, and they're going to try to keep 2 feet in the ground at all times. And the guy pushing them, okay, at some point is going to try to push them over. Okay, this is not a very good power base because he gets up on 1 foot. We never want to be a one-legged defender. Okay, we want to keep our weight balanced, and we want to keep 2 feet in the ground. So this is not a good job by 99. Okay, you never know when a damn tackle or guard or a tight end is going to come down on your hip. And so you really got to be having a strong base all the time. This is, again, another poor job. He gets on 1 leg. His steps were too big. Okay, here's a good one. Bam, that's a great job. He's working, has a good power base. He feels that pressure. When he feels that pressure, we talk about hipping back into that pressure. Hip into it. And that allows you to not give up wash. And you can see his feet are in a good position the whole time. His feet never come together. He's got 2 feet in the ground most of the time. That's a really good job. And again, we'll do this usually on a daily basis if we have full Indy time. And what you need to do, you got to get the guy that's pushing them, you got to try to get him to push that guy over. Don't be nice to him. They always want to be nice to each other. Try to run his ass over. So another good job. So that's the stability drill. I highly recommend that drill for your D tackles and your zero nose tackles. Okay, then a drill we like to get into is called a read drill. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually get in a 3-point stance, and we're going to start our eye progression. We're going to start that near knee read. Okay, so right now they're both in a stance. All right, the guy on the left is looking at this knee. The guy on the right is looking at this knee. Okay, so they're both reading a knee. Okay, I'm going to step one direction or the other. I step here. Bam. So he gets a reach read. He gets an inside release read. Okay, and you can play that however your technique tells you to play it, you play it. All right, for us, we were squeezing an inside release. So we're squeezing, okay, and then we were working some midline B-gap read stuff. So I'm the quarterback. I pulled it. He's got to surf out and play the quarterback. Or I can step and then redirect him down the line of scrimmage, and he'll sprint down the line. So you can really make this drill whatever you want to make it. Another surf technique, got to reach, and what we call a surf. So now, boom, he gets a reach, he gets an inside release, and he gets a down the line call. So now he's going to sprint down the line. So this is simulating. I got an inside release. I'm on the backside of zone. I now got to go track the back. It's a really good job by him. All right, almost got ran over by a 300-pounder. You got to be careful of that. But this is a great drill to start the process of that eye control. I also like it because it's a non-contact drill. Okay, so this is a drill you can do 12 months a year, okay, and you can get good work while not beating up their bodies. Okay, the next thing we get into is we get into some of our movement footwork, okay? And so the first type that we talk about is our loop technique, okay? And a loop technique for us, this would be your zone blitz type footwork, your long sticks. We call them 2-gap movements, okay? And when we work on loop technique, the first thing we do is, okay, we're just going to you could put 2 cans or 2 bags or whatever it is, okay? And they're going to work on just working flat. And when we say loop equals no ricochet, meaning if this can were to come at him, okay, he's going to cross his face 1 gap. All right, he's going to cross his face 1 gap. So these are movements where we have 1 or 2 blitzers coming off this edge, and he's working his way inside. Okay, and so what we talk about when we're moving is, number 1, we talk about near foot, near direction. So if I'm going left, okay, I want to step left with my left foot. So it's a good job. It's a loop technique's a little more flatter because, again, we're trying to get 2 gaps. We use kind of a shuffle because we want to be square at all times. We never want to turn our shoulders or our hips until we absolutely have to. Okay, so these are good reps. And then what we'll do is, in the progression, we will add a person. Okay, we'll do them left, then we'll do them right. Okay, now we added a person into the mix. So now they're going to move and they're going to have to react off of me. Okay, so if I come at them, they're going to cross my face 1 gap. Okay. If the hip goes away from them, They're now going to close to the hip and get flat to cut off, what we call a slip technique. What they don't want to do, they don't want to go vertical because that ball is going to rip right there on a run play. So they want to get right here and they want to feed the ball back into the rest of the movement and the blitz. Another slip technique, good job. But it's important that you work it both ways. Okay, then the next type of movement we talk about is a slant technique. A slant technique is a one gap movement. So that's a B to A to B, a C to B, whatever it is, it's a one gap movement. Okay, we talked about loop equals no ricochet. In slant technique, now we talk about slant technique equals ricochet. So now if this can were to come at him, he's going to ricochet off of him into his gap. Okay, he's now not going to cross his face. Okay, so now this is a one gap movement. We talk about taking a 45-degree step with our first foot. Okay, and then what we want to avoid is we have some bad habits here, but you see a second step is really long. Okay, and we don't want our feet stacked up. We still want to keep a good base because if this guy is down blocking or reach blocking, I have to be able to secure this gap with power. Pretty good job by 92. 1-2, feet are a little bit tight, not too bad. So we'll do this both directions, and you can do this on a can, on a bag, in a mini cage. We've done it in a mini cage, all kinds of places. All right, so now here we go. So now we put a person into it. Now he's going to ricochet off of me into the gap. So if I was trying to down block him, he would come crush my face and get in this gap. Or if I was trying to reach block him, okay, he would have to secure this gap here. He's now just the next gap over. We're always going to key the next down line in the direction we're going. So if I'm moving left, I'm on the snap, I'm going to key the next down lineman in the direction I'm going. So we call that a slant technique. If the hip goes away, then we're going to work a slip technique just like we did in a loop. All right. Then we're going to get into some punch drills. We call this 6-point punch. It's a pretty standard drill. You could use a 5-man, a 1-man, whatever you have. Okay. Now all we're working on is our punch. When we punch, we talk about punching with our thumbs up, okay, and having tight elbows. And what we talk about is tight elbows create power. Tight elbows create power. It's a little out of focus. It's not you. It's the camera was a little out of focus. My man didn't get it focused up for a little bit. And then we'll get into what I call bend it. So now what we do, if you have a 5-man, I like to put them right in the middle with one person because now you can really come off the ball full speed and try to bend that thing in half. So that's why we call it bend it. So now they're going to come up a 3-point stance. What a really good first 2 steps. Short first step, gets 2 feet in the ground on contact. He's going to come out of his hips. He's going to shock and lock. He's going to buzz his feet. And when I give him a release call, he's going to release one way or the other. All right, when we release off of blocks, okay, I am an arm over chop guy. I'm not a rip guy. I'm an arm over guy. Okay. When you rip or when you go arm under, they can really hold you and you really don't have much power. When I go arm over with a chop at the end, okay, number one, if he's holding me, they'll show it. And number 2, I can chop his hands off of me and not allow him to hold me. So we use that arm over chop release. But this is a great drill to just work on coming off full speed. and practicing violence. All right, then we get into fit and lock. Okay, so now we're gonna start in a fit position. Once again, remember I said small to big. Okay, so we're gonna start in a fit position. So I'll say left shade, fit it up. Man hand will go to the near number. Gap hand will go to the outside shoulder. Your face will go right in between. And we want to have tight elbows. Again, tight elbows create power. We're simulating that we've came off on movement. We've made contact with the offensive lineman. What do I do next? Okay, so the first thing we'll do is I'll give them a feet call. When I say feet, they're going to buzz their feet. When I blow the first whistle, he's going to lock and run. When I blow the second whistle, he's going to violently release. All right, so you see a good violent. So what we're talking about here is when we lock, we want to use the ground, and we want to go power from our feet, through our knees, through our hips, through our hands, and create that power from the ground to shock this offensive lineman. So you can see him come out of his hips. He does a great job. You want to see the offensive lineman's head snap back. That's what you want to see. Okay, we want to lock. We want to get that man arm locked. We want to create a lever with the man arm. Okay, that's where your power's at. Okay, your man hand. So we want to create a lever with that man hand. All right, I want to get him back. I want to take short, choppy steps, but I want to gain ground. And then I want a violent release. This is a really good arm over chop at the end. See, this is not a good finish. Look how soft the finish is by 93. I don't like it. Be violent. Get cut off there. But you get the point. We call this fit and lock, and this is a daily drill. From there, we'll graduate into what we call one-on-one read. Okay, so now I'm going to give them an offensive line look. All right, so now they're taking everything that we've just worked on, and they're putting it together. Okay, and so now he's in a left shade. He's going to read this near knee. Okay, a couple points to this drill. Number one is, as a coach, I stand behind the defensive player. Okay, that way I can tell the offensive guy, obviously this is a defensive lineman giving an offensive look. Okay, but I can give him the signal, reach block, drive block, inside release, whatever I want to give him, pass set. Okay, but after that, I put my arms up to the side. Okay, when I drop my hands, the offensive guy goes. When the offensive guy goes, the defensive guy goes. Okay, so even though this guy is given an offensive look, he's still getting a defensive lineman eye control fundamental. He's still building his movement stimulus. And that's really important. Okay, because if you do all of your drills on a whistle, on a cadence, okay, then you're essentially teaching your guys to jump off sides. Okay, I was at Wake Forest a couple of years ago, and I was in their D-line drills, and they were ripping and roaring, and they were going on first sound every time. Every drill they did was on a first sound. Okay, well, they got the team, and 3 times in a row they jump off sides. Okay, and the coaches are ripping the players. And all I could think about was you just trained them for 45 minutes to go on the first sound. And what did they do? They went on the first sound. All right, so don't bitch at the player. Look in the mirror. All right, be careful on the habits that you're creating by your players. And when I started doing this several years ago, I can count on one hand how many times we've jumped off sides since then. It's been a great deal. But anyways, on movement, you can give them whatever block you want to give them. Okay, and you're just starting in the small piece. If you have a zero technique or you're playing a head up guy, you can put them head up and they can read really however you want to do it. Whatever fits your scheme. Okay, but what it's doing is it's isolating this one-on-one piece. Here we're working inside releases.
Got a question here for you, Coach.
Yes, go for it.
Coach wants to know, is there a reason to read the knee instead of the feet?
My reason is if you get in a three-point stance in front of a guy, your natural eye progression takes you kind of to that knee. Okay, so now I don't have to look at, because you don't want to ever they don't ever want to look at the ground. What do you teach in football? Have your eyes up. Okay, and I feel like if you read the hip or the shoulder, you kind of have to, it's unrealistic with your eyes. And if you look at the feet, then their heads are going to be down. So by looking at the knee, it's a really, really good area where they can keep their eyes up, and it's kind of in that natural eye progression. That's kind of the reason that we do that.
And one more here, Coach. Do you number the blocks for efficiency, or the old point to where you want them to go?
So read that again.
Do you number the blocks for efficiency, or it says, or the old point to where you want them to go? I guess.
I don't understand. I don't number the blocks.
Coach, can you just type that again, Coach? While he's doing that, another one came in. Have you had success reading the knee to diagnose types of blocks, down, reach, base?
Have I had success?
Yeah.
Absolutely. My players have never played so fast. The minute I started doing this, we started playing faster than ever, because you can teach them, when they take one step, I know almost exactly what the block is. So I know right now, if I'm looking at this near knee right here, as soon as this thing, boom, right now, as soon as he moves, I know it's an inside or outside release. As soon as he moves, I know it, because of the way this knee is reacting. So it's a quick, definitive solution. You don't have to take a full step.
Okay. So from the question before, Coach, for the one-on-one reads, are you just holding up like a number, or are you just kind of pointing so they know which way? Both.
No, I don't know if guys can see me, but I'll give like a reach signal, a drive symbol, a pass symbol. So I give them hand signals. My guy, I don't think they're smart enough to remember numbers, so I give them hand signals. So anyway, so we go from one-on-one read, we'll move on and we'll go on to the next piece. And that next piece is what I call pods, okay? And this is really, really important, okay? So now we're getting to that bigger piece, okay? So the first pod we do is we add a guy. So it's essentially, it's one-on-one read, okay? But now I've added this guy. And this could be a 5 technique, a 3 technique, a shade, a 1 shade, a 2 eye. A shade is a shade, in my opinion. And so this could be whatever you want it to be. Okay, for us, this is a right guard and a right tackle. So this is a left 3 technique. Okay. And so now what you're trying to teach them is, just because we added a guy, it doesn't matter. Okay. And if you look at a football game, okay, if you cut this piece out of the game, all right, this is the game for this guy. This is the game. When you add a ball and more people, it doesn't matter. This is the game for you, okay? Every play in football is like putting a puzzle together on defense, Okay, every play is a puzzle, a new puzzle, and each piece has a place. And if you ain't in your place, there's a big ass hole in our puzzle, and we have an issue. And so we've all done this. You do all this individual work. You get to the first day of pads, and you go inside, and you do all that, and they don't do anything you just taught them to do. Okay, what this does is what we're trying to get them to believe is small to big. This is the game for you. And so now we get into pods, and now you can work whatever you want. Here we're working a divide read, so we have to play a quarterback. You can work whatever you want to work. If you're working a zero nose, here we're working a shade nose. Okay, but we have 3 guys here because if we're working a zero nose, we're going to have 2 guards and a center. Here we're working a shade nose, so we just have 2 guys going. It's a great job. Here's that stability block. Now everything you just worked on, they're putting into action here. They're reading the knee. They got a stability drill right here. They're working their release, fit, lock, finish, all that stuff. Now's when you start working whatever blocking schemes you're seeing for the week. All right, and here I am in the back. Now I have my hands up. I tell these guys what to do. I put my hands up. When I drop my hands, they go. When they go, he goes. You can also, we sometimes we bring our inside linebackers to this drill. Sometimes we bring our outside linebackers to this drill. Sometimes we bring them both. But it's a way to really, really isolate small pieces. Okay, if you're an even front guy, you can make this a tackle. You can put a fullback right here, so you're getting it down with the kick. You can really make this drill anything you want to make it. But we call this pods, and we will do this every day. If I have 10 minutes of Indy, I'm doing pods as we get going. We can also do this versus the offensive line. Okay, if you like to do some hookups versus the O-line, this is a great drill to do because what do? They block people, and what do? We defeat blocks. So we might as well get together and get a little bit of work in. So I love, as a head coach, obviously, I get to decide, so we do this a lot together. Perks of the job, making the decisions. Okay, that's kind of our run progression. Okay. Are there any more questions through the run progression?
Yes, sir. I guess I think he's talking about in regards to in an actual game. Are the D linemen still going off the key or the man, or are they going off the ball?
We're going off the man. So what we talk about is we're going to key the near knee to the football. Obviously, if you see the flash of the ball out of the corner of your eye, you go. All right. But how can I go if I don't know where to go? And so we're going to ultimately go off the movement of the offensive lineman. So if you have an O-lineman that's a little slow and I'm further away from the ball, you might be a little slow, but I'm going to be right. So we go off the movement of the man. And if we see the ball go, we're obviously going to go. We're not a ball key team.
Good, coach.
Anything else right now?
We're good.
Okay, then we're going to get into some pass rush stuff. And one of the first things we do from a pass rush standpoint is what we call close the gap. Okay, so now we're going to work. This is a rabbit, so he's going to be about 2 to 3 yards behind the line. Okay, and all 3 of these guys are now going to go on a movement. Okay, these 2 are going to go on his movement. He's going to go on my movement. And so all they're doing is they're racing to the near shoulder of the offensive lineman. Okay, as a pass rusher, I'm trying to close the distance to an offensive lineman. An O-lineman's trying to create distance. Okay, and for me to make a rush move, I have to get close enough to do so. And so all we're doing here is we're just getting off and closing the gap, closing the hip cushion. getting to what I call the move zone. All right, if I'm not close enough to step on his toes or smell his breath, I can't make a move. So this is a really good drill. Again, a drill you can do 12 months a year in a gymnasium or on the field, doesn't matter. You can do it in your house. But it's kind of how we always start our pass rush drills. Okay, then we're going to get into the flip slide. One of the hardest things to get a defensive lineman to do consistently is flip his hips. Okay, and there's some guys that do it natural, but there's a lot that don't. Okay, and what we talk about is flipping our hips and sliding our feet. Okay, and you can use bags or cans. Okay, but watch his feet. He's going to flip his hip violently, and he's going to slide his feet. Flip, slide. And what the slide does is it allows you to get around the man. Okay, we're not punching. We're not doing anything. Okay, we have our hands above our waist, and we're just flipping and sliding. Okay, and what you really want to do is you want to make sure they don't go too fast. 91 here, he gets a little fast. But nice and slow, they're just flipping their hips and sliding their feet, trying to isolate that skill set. Flip and slide. Okay, we'll transition that into what we call big bags. Most people probably do this. Now we're going to get some type of a punch. Okay, when we punch, we talk about near foot, near hand. So if I'm punching with the left foot, or excuse me, with the left arm, I'm going to step with the left foot and flip my hips. At the end, okay, this is important. At the end, okay, I'm going to accelerate to the quarterback, okay? And we flip our hips, guys. We flip our hips for two reasons, okay? Number one is it takes our target away from an offensive lineman, okay? And number two is it gets our hips to the launch point of the quarterback, okay? And so when we come off this last bag, a coaching point is we also want to get a good toe turn. So if you see his toe turn, his left foot here, this toe turn allows him to cut to the quarterback. And we put it back here to make him over-exaggerated. All right, what you don't want is you don't want him to come around this bag and do this. You don't want him to round it off. You want it to be sharp. Sharp edges, a really good toe turn, really good finish. And so at the end, you need to look and you need to coach that toe turn. That toe turn will get those hips where they need to be. But this is big bags. You can go arm over, arm under, whatever you want to do, whatever you like to teach. Boom, great toe turn, really good finish. Accelerate on the finish, finish, bam. Good, you can put a ball on that last bag if you want to. You can make it whatever you want to make it. All right, then what we'll do is we'll shrink the bags down and we'll get into what we call tight bags. Okay, now we're going to work on making a bunch of moves quickly, bam. As a pass rusher, a lot of times it's your second or third move that win the rep. And so really all we're trying to do here is now we're trying to speed up the process and they're having to make a bunch of moves quickly. We call this tight bags. Got to flip our hips better there.
Got a question here, Coach.
Yeah.
What is your key coaching point in coaching that toe turn?
It's essentially just being conscious and learning how to essentially turn your toe wherever you want to go. Okay, if my toe stays straight, my body's going to want to go straight. If I turn that toe, my body's now going to want to go that direct. It gets your hips in line, and so really you're just working on them understanding body mechanics. Okay, if I turn my toe, my hips have to turn also. And it gets my hips in line to where I want to go. And I kind of skipped over that during the redirection portion, but it's the same thing when we're redirecting. I'm going to plant my foot, and then I'm going to toe turn whatever direction I need to go to get my hips to go that way. So we try to basically teach them how their body works and why. But that's the difference sometimes between getting a sack and missing the quarterback is that finish. You want to finish flat. You don't want to finish on an arc. You want to finish flat to the quarterback. Okay, then we'll get into some moves. We'll get into what we call a slingshot. Okay, the slingshot is essentially like a push-pull. I've come off, I've punched, okay, and I start this in a fit position, so it's kind of like fit and lock. All right, but now I segment this with a whistle, okay, and we'll start off slow. So on the first whistle, they're going to lock and they're going to run. All right, on the second whistle, they're going to pull, flip, and slide all at the same time. So first whistle, second whistle. Third whistle, they're going to finish. And when you do this at the start, you want to go slow with the whistles so you segment it. And as you get going, you want to make them faster. Then eventually, you just want to go on a movement or one whistle to now they're putting it all together in one fluid motion. All right, but it's really important on that second whistle, they're going to pull, flip, and slide all at the same time. Whistle, whistle, whistle. I just call this the slingshot. Slingshot yourself by him. Okay, this is a good rep to watch what not to do because number 90 here, when he flips, he pushes. See him push with his left arm? We want to pull his shoulder down. We don't want to push it. We want to pull it. So I love these reps when I can show you guys how it's not supposed to look. I think that's important to understand. He's pushing. I want him pulling. We have another guy. This is one of the first times we did this. 91 pushes too. I don't want to push. I want to pull. Man, that's a good pull. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Good flip. Really good. And that flip slide is going to get you around. Pull, flip, slide. So we call that the slingshot. You can also put them in a three-point stance and do it on movement and kind of progress to that. Then we're going to progress from there into what we call speed to power. Okay, so now we're going to work a three-point stance. We're going to work some speed to power, speed to counter. So now we're going on movement. We're going to close the gap. We're going to punch. And then we're going to work what we call a long stride. You might have heard that on like a kickoff rep where you're trying to long stride through a guy's face. So I'm going to close the gap, punch violently, and long stride through him. Close, punch, long stride. Close the gap, violent punch, long stride. There's a really good long stride. Running through a guy's face. Pass rushing is like a game within the game. You have to set up pass rush moves. All right, you can't come out just running inside of people. You got to set that up with speed, speed to power, speed to counter. And so we try to end this here in a minute. I think we have some speed to counter reps here. But again, the speed sets it all up. You got to close the gap quickly. Okay, we'll try to get to, we have a couple of speed to counter reps here at the end. So now this is what we call speed to counter. So now I'm going to speed him. I'm going to get him vertical. I'm going to counter back inside. Speed to counter. Another move I like, I don't have film of it right now. I call it a stab move, where you're working your speed get off and you're stabbing that. You're going to stab that near shoulder with your man hand and lock your arm out. Okay. If he presses into you, you can pull it through. If he's soft, all right, you can make your arm longer and run that thing around to the quarterback. Call that a stab move. I love that move. I don't have any clips of that on me right now. Okay, but that's our pass rush progression. Some of my favorite moves out of those, and essentially, what I challenge you to do is make sure that your drills are matching what you want to do on the field. Don't do a drill, just do a drill. If it doesn't show up on game film, don't do it in practice. Okay, that's all I have today. We'd love to answer any questions we have.
Yeah, there was a couple that came in just now, Coach.
Yep.
One was, on those drills you're just showing, how much focus is on pad level in those drills?
And on all the drills?
The last ones that you were showing.
Oh, I mean, we always want to be low to high on a guy, so we always want to be lower than an offensive lineman. So pad level is always important.
Ball key on loose downs or still knee key?
On what downs?
He put loose downs.
I'm assuming it means like an obvious pass situation. When we get into some of our sub package, some of our nickel stuff, some of our twist game pass rush stuff, then we can go to some ball key. But in our regular package, when we're playing base football, we're always going to key the near knee.
Good deal. Anybody else have any questions for Coach? What are your thoughts on the spin move?
Over the years, I've loosened up on it a little bit. I do what I tell guys that they're not allowed to spin until I give them a spin card. Because once you tell a guy he can go inside or spin, they seem to want to do it all the time. And so I think you really have to be careful with it. But I do think I don't ever like spinning in the run game. Okay, I know guys spin off and make plays and all that. But I'm not a fan of it. In the pass game, I like it as a counter move. So if I go speed and I get past the quarterback, counter spin back inside to get flat, that's when I'm a fan of it, and that's the only situation I'm really a fan of spinning, is on a counter move, speed to counter.
At the high school level with limited time and two-way players, how easy is it to use left hand and right hand stances?
I mean, I think you're going to get what you emphasize, and so the first day I get a kid as a freshman, generally, if they could get in two stances, I know, man, they came from a pretty good program. All right. If they can't, then you just make them. You make them, and it's something that if you don't have a lot of time in practice, okay, they're going to need to do it after practice. They're going to need to do it at home. But I think you get what you emphasize, and if that's what you want, you have to make them do it. Don't give them a choice.
How do you work your low box and high box guys for quarterback contained in the pocket?
Low box and high box. I guess I understand the question. We talk about what we do talk about is once I get past the quarterback, I got to get back. I don't ever want to round the horn. So I don't ever want to get ran by the quarterback. So we talk about once we get even, that quarterback's going to step up, and we have to cut flat to the quarterback. Those are the kind of things that we talk about.
Anybody else? Any more questions? And while they're doing that, Coach, if they wanted to reach out to you, say on Twitter or email, do you mind sharing your contact?
Sure. I should have put it up here. My Twitter is @rcoon959. If you got into this talk, you've probably seen it. My email is rcoon@dc3.edu. And then my phone number is 662-501-9765. Feel free to text me or call me. Any questions that you have. If you want this presentation, I can get it to you. Would love to share anything that we have.
Awesome. Yeah, no, Coach, I appreciate that tremendously. I don't know if it makes it easier for you, but if you want to email me the presentation, I could put it in the drive. So you don't have to send out a bunch of different emails. If that works better.
Yep. Sounds good.
Awesome. I'll shoot you my email on Twitter, and then we'll get that sent over. But I appreciate you jumping on in the morning, Coach, and getting it in, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Coaches, once again, man, feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions. Obviously, Coach, shares contact information for a reason. So, take him up on that. If you have any questions about this presentation or any other D-line questions that he'd be able to ask, that's what it's about. We're continuing to push each other and grow together. So, once again,